You in a relationship that's going nowhere? Probably worth ending it to save your time. Does this apply to stocks? Today we're going to talk about what to do when you're in a losing position. As always, this is not financial advice. This is just my thought process of going through a current position that I own and the decision matrix that I went through on why I'm deciding to sell. Today we're going to be talking about the sunk cost fallacy. We're talking about market recoveries and how I decide when to sell off stocks that are losing. The sunk cost fallacy is something that a lot of people know about, but let's talk about the definition. I'm just going to straight up read it. Sunk cost fallacy, the phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it's clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. This sounds awful, but when you think about it, stocks are very similar. For every stock that you buy, there's 1,000 other stocks that you could be owning. And when you buy something that goes down immediately, you have this sense of investment in it. You've put financial money that has a very high emotional weight to it. Money is one of the most emotionally invested things that we have. We spend so much time and effort trying to earn it so that when we lose it, there's this sense of dread. You don't want to admit that you've lost the money. And that's why a lot of people bag hold, which is the idea of holding a stock that's down by so much for the hopes that it'll just break even. You're not even trying to make money from it. You just want to break even and get out of it. Bag holding is something that I've talked about a lot on this channel, and I will continue to talk about it because it's one of the most important investing psychology topics out there, and it's something that a lot of people go through, especially in a bear market that we're in right now. Think about a situation where you buy a stock and it immediately drops 50%. What are you going to do? Are you going to hold on to it? Are you going to sell it and put your money into something else? That's a tough question. I think most people, if this happened to them right now, they would just sit there and hope that it recovers because you have all of this money associated with it. And even though there might be better opportunities out there, you don't want to admit that you've made a mistake. And that's the sunk cost fallacy. In a market like this where things are down pretty significantly, yes, we've had a recovery in the past week, you have to ask yourself, will this stock recover? Because even though you see stuff about, bear markets on average last less than 2 years, that means that the market as a whole recovers in less than 2 years. That doesn't mean individual stocks. So as we get to the point now where these stay-at-home stocks have been crushed, stuff that is speculative in nature has been destroyed, you really need to think, is this going to recover? Because in a time like this where the market is starting to show signs of life that it may be recovering, we need to look to see if there are better places to put our money. And that's why I am looking to sell potentially one of my favorite stocks of all time and put my money elsewhere. So let's talk about the numbers when it comes to bear markets. Bear market is any time the stock market drops 20% from its previous highs, and as of right now, we are currently in one. The longest bear market in the history of the stock market occurred in the early 2000s after the dot-com bubble, which lasted 929 days. The shortest bear market was during the pandemic in the spring of 2020, which lasted 33 days. And since 1928, the S&P 500 has experienced 21 bear markets. That's approximately one every 4.5 years on average. The average length of a bear market is 388 days, and excluding the longest and shortest bear markets, the average length is around 330 days, which is just under 1 year. So when you see this, on average, bear markets have become less and less frequent. We've had the longest bull market in the history of the stock market from after the financial crisis of the late 2000s to the pandemic-caused bear market, which also resulted in the shortest bear market in the history of the stock market. So on average, bear markets are happening less often, and if you look at the last one, they're lasting less time. So we're getting to the point now where the bear market has been around for under a year at this point, but we're getting close to that average. So we need to start thinking about how we can take advantage of this. I've talked at lengths about how I just continually add anytime I see the markets down significantly, but we need to look at individual stocks that we're holding, not just the overall market. Here's an article that I found that talks about how long it took for tech stocks to recover after the dot-com bubble. So while the bear market was the longest that we've had in recent memory at around 900 days, this article says that it took 17 years for tech stocks to finally recover from the dot-com crash. And this is heavily weighted by stuff like Apple and Microsoft, stuff that pulls along the rest of it. If you look at the small cap stocks, I think it's like 95% of them don't do very well, and like 90% of the gains are based off of like 1 or 2% of the overall stocks in there. And that's kind of how the NASDAQ has worked for the past 20 years. Apple and Microsoft and some of the other high flyer stuff like Netflix has really pulled the whole index up as a whole. But it took 17 years for it to recover after the dot-com bubble burst in 2000. But while we have stuff like Apple that has done incredibly well since that dot-com bubble bursting, there were plenty of stocks that never recovered. And now I'm looking at a stock that I think is stuck in a bygone era that may not recover. We're going to be talking about GE in my position that I've held. I've made plenty of videos on this channel talking about why it was my favorite stock going forward. I thought it was going to be a fantastic play when it came to green energy stocks They decided to break the stock up into 3, and that's the reason why I'm not too worried about potentially selling. So let's talk about the thought process that I went through for when I'm deciding when to sell a losing stock. If it's a stock that I own that I think is going to recover at a faster pace than the overall market, I'm fine holding that. This is stuff like an Adobe, stuff like PayPal. It's down right now, but I think it's going to recover faster than the overall market, and I like the business model of the company, so I'm okay holding it. Something like a GE, it's actually done better than the overall market in the past year, but I don't think it's going to rebound as well as the overall market. When I look at GE, they are trying to restructure their business. They're breaking up into 3 different types of stocks in the upcoming year. This doesn't excite me right now, and I have more money in this GE position than I have in anything else in my retirement account. It's around 15%. So when I look at it, let's talk about some of the questions that I would ask myself. If this position was green, do I think I would view it any differently? When you're down money, you view positions a lot more negatively than if it was a green position. So I like to ask myself, if this was a stock that was actually doing well, would I consider selling it? And I do think I would consider selling it just because it doesn't excite me as much as some of the other opportunities that I see in the stock market. When the markets are down, I see fantastic opportunities, and I just don't think GE is going to have that great of an opportunity to have this much amount of money sitting in it. The next question is my money better used elsewhere? When you look at how quickly markets recover, I think it's going to recover significantly faster than GE is. GE has done well at holding its value during the bear market, but when the markets start recovering, you see how incredibly violent they are to the upside. We've seen this in the past couple weeks with the NASDAQ going up 7% in one day as a result of some of the comments made by the Federal Reserve talking about the inflation was not as high as previously expected. And then we had Jerome Powell come out this week say that they're going to be easing up on the interest rates. Market spiked. GE did not do that well. So is my money better spent elsewhere? I think yes. The last question I ask myself is, would I feel more comfortable if this position was smaller? One of the common things that I've noticed is that if I have a position size that's too large, it often makes me worry about it significantly. This is something where I'll just be sitting around thinking, ooh, I really hope it recovers. I'm checking it constantly, and I don't think that's healthy, and I think it's a sign that your position is too large. So right now, I think yes, this position is too large. But because of the other 2 things that I've asked myself, I'm likely going to be selling off the whole position and not just part of it. This isn't a retirement account, so there's no benefits of the tax loss harvesting. It's just that I see my money being more valuable elsewhere, and that's the thought process I went through on deciding to sell this position. Have I decided exactly what I'm going to put it into yet? No, not yet. I'll probably put it into a market index fund, something like a QQQ, or I might try using the wheel, which is a strategy of selling options for the premium to buy back additional shares of companies that I love. So I'm still deciding exactly what I'm going to do with it, but I think it's important to look at your portfolio as a whole, maybe every 6 months, every year, and kind of decide if you still feel the same way about the positions that you did when you bought it, because things change psychology-wise the second that a stock goes down, and while we're in a bear market like this, I have a feeling that if you look at most of your portfolio, you're going to have a lot of stocks that are down. So I think it's important to have that conversation, and this was the thought process that I used behind selling one of my favorite stocks of all time and one of the largest that's in my retirement account. So let me know what you thought about this thought process. Do you have any stocks that you've decided to sell in the past year because you've decided that your money is better used elsewhere? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, this is not financial advice. This is just me talking about my situation, and I'm very curious your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. If you have a topic you'd like me to discuss in a future video, be sure to leave it down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.